Today's session is going to be on Southwest Trade Adjustment Assistance Center. So today's speakers, myself, Barbara Ward, I'm here at TMAC. We'll have Joseph Moronis, the project manager from Southwest Trade Adjustment Assistance Center, and he'll introduce Jason Petras, one of his satisfied customers.
Like Barbara mentioned, I'm Joseph Moronis. I'm with the Southwest Trade Adjustment Assistance Center. We provide matching funds for manufacturers who've been negatively impacted by foreign competition, and they can use that funding for business turnaround projects. They can use it for various consulting services, ISO certifications, marketing training. There's a lot of different ways that they're able to use these program dollars for. However, I'd like to open things up with a client of mine that works in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Mr. Jason Petras. Jason just recently completed a project with us in conjunction with TMAC, and I opened it up to him to explain a little bit more about his experience, kind of how it worked out and kind of the benefits that he experienced.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. Jason Petras, Valcorp Enterprises. We're a manufacturing, aerospace manufacturer up here in the DFW area. Had been in the program with Joseph, actually his predecessor, but Joseph picked up and hit the ground running. And we engaged with TMAC as well to get assistance on getting our AS9100D certification. And Joseph helped fund it, and TMAC was instrumental in having us fly through with only a couple of non-conformities and fly right through and get our certification. So it was a great experience. Highly recommend both entities to anyone out there listening. Great subject matter experts and just easy process to work through.
Jason, one of our very satisfied customers that was able to work with us through this program here. TMAC benefited from being able to implement a program itself that Jason's firm needed to complete. They knew it would be regardless. With that in mind, I'm going to bring up my screen right now, and I'm going to show the program that Jason participated in. Explain a little bit more about the two-phase process for a firm to participate, and what they can use the money for. If you aren't in aerospace manufacturing, if you're a food manufacturer, if you make furniture, if you make clothes, whatever you make, as long as you're a manufacturer, you stand to benefit from this program. Participating. So let me go ahead and pull up my screen. So we are the Southwest Trade Adjustment Assistance Center. We are based at the University of Texas, San Antonio, and it's a matching funds program for manufacturers negatively impacted by foreign competition. You can see at the bottom we have a a map of our service area to include Texas as well as the states that surround it. So regardless of where you are in the state of Texas, regardless of if you are in unincorporated land, if you're in county land, if you're in the middle of a big city, not an issue. We cover the entire 5-state region shown below. So you'll kind of hear that's one of the first times I hear you say don't self-select out. If your firm is interested in hearing a bit more about the program or potentially participating, we'd love to chat a bit more. I'll provide my information and hopefully we can get something done. Yeah. The program has been around for quite a while. It gets its institutional creation from the Trade Act of 1974, where trade adjustment assistance for firms was created. A lot of common questions we get nowadays are whether we are a CARES Act program or an American Rescue Fund program, but we are not. We've been around for much longer than that. Operates independently, funded separately from that as well. I'm a University of Texas at San Antonio employee. I'm a nonprofit economic development professional. I do not make a commission if you participate or if you don't participate. We are here for the benefit of manufacturers domestic in our 5-state region. The program itself gets its funding from the Department of Commerce, more specifically the Economic Development Administration. So you may hear me reference them. They're kind of the overarching agency that handles the actual federal side of things. We ourselves at the SWTAAC implement the program itself, kind of the flow through between the manufacturer and the program itself to make it easier. The long and short of it is the program exists for manufacturers negatively impacted by foreign competition, and they are provided with matching funds for business turnaround projects. If they've been negatively impacted by foreign competition, they may know they need, consulting services in marketing so that they can increase their sales capabilities, or new product development if they want to incorporate additional product lines to be more resilient. Employees may need training. We have a very, very broad mandate on what we're allowed to use program dollars for. For a firm to participate, they do need to be a manufacturing firm. We'll go a bit more into manufacturers in a bit, kind of that qualification. And they do need to provide 2 years of financial data, as well as employment data, to kind of justify that the firm has been negatively impacted by competition, experienced a decrease in sales and a decrease in employment. You'll also see at the bottom of our service area coming back up again, entire state of Texas, not an issue for us to work with. There are 2 dollar categories that a firm is able to request from the program. If they request a total dollar limit of up to $150,000, projects paid under that limit are paid at a 50-50 split. So a $40,000 ERP revamp turns into $20,000 out of the manufacturer's pocket and $20,000 out of the SWTAAC pocket. However, there's also a lower dollar cap of $30,000 where projects are paid at 75 out of SWTAAC pocket, only 25 out of the client pocket. But most of our manufacturers do prefer the $150,000 total limit for that added flexibility. You know, if 2 years, 3 years down the line, a new certification is needed, or the industry is experiencing rapid changes, there's a lot of different flexibility built into a higher dollar amount like that. We have found that it's easier to start with what we cannot pay for than shift into what we can pay for, and you'll see why on the next slide. Kind of a good overarching theme for non-eligible expenses will be ongoing costs of doing business. So your employee W-2 wages, your raw materials, your new equipment, those sorts of business costs, unfortunately, are not eligible for program expenses. However, we're very much a can-do office, and you will hear us tell you, unfortunately, we can't pay for this equipment. However, you know, for example, a CNC machine. If a firm shows up and requests funding for a CNC machine, unfortunately, the actual asset itself is not eligible for program expenses. However, the integration costs to integrate it into your existing manufacturing workflow, for the you know, custom software consulting to put your, you know, existing production software on it, those types of consulting secondary costs are eligible. So you will hear us say, you'll never hear us say no. You'll hear us say, we can't pay for this, but once this starts coming in, let's talk about if that's an eligible program expense. We are definitely looking to pay out dollars as opposed to find a reason not to. And you will see there's a very wide variety of different programs, different projects that firms are able to use the money for. Like Jason mentioned previously, his manufacturing firm used it for a quality system. That way they were able to get that certification for their firm. I have a couple clients currently working lean manufacturing. They are currently trying to integrate that into their operations across the state, across our 5-state area, as well as industrial marketing, market research, prototyping. You'll see a theme that kind of starts to show up here. It helps these businesses become more resilient, more better adapted for the future changes in their industry that they may have to deal with, on top of the negative impact of foreign competition that has caused them to have a decrease in employment and in sales. Lists of additional consulting projects eligible, R&D, strategic planning, patent searches. That theme keeps coming back of resiliency, of knowledge-based services, of making your firm more able to adapt to the ever-growing market conditions and the changes that might come in the next few years. Marketing material design, sales training, it's very broad. Down at the bottom, you'll also see that other non-specified items, and we use that as much as we can within our program guidelines. Basically, you come to us with a proposal, and we'll tell you if we can make it work under the program guidelines. This is one of the other times you'll hear me say we don't want a firm to self-select themselves out. If a manufacturing firm is interested in the actual program itself, we have a wide variety of being able to get these firms considered manufacturers. Not always anymore widgets on an assembly line. It could be tool and die. It could be CNC machining. Furniture manufacturers. We work with a couple furniture manufacturers. I'm currently working with a company that manufactures linens. Some of these firms may not necessarily see themselves as manufacturers. However, under EDA's definition, they will consider either NAICS codes that start with the number 3, if you're familiar with your NAICS code, or if you, through your business, do any value-added processes. You take a material, do something to it, turn it into a different product. There's a good chance in EDA's eyes you would be eligible at least to be considered a manufacturer to continue on with the certification phase of this program. Companies that make hats, companies that make cabinet makers, we're very broad, and we definitely don't want a firm to self-select themselves out. Previous 2 slides were information on the program itself. Here's a bit more of the nuts and bolts of what a participating manufacturer would experience working with the SWTAAC. 3-phase process. First phase being the certification phase, where we outline, we kind of build the case that the firm has been negatively impacted by foreign competition. We gather up the documentation, we format it. That way the Department of Commerce EDA reviews it properly, and we kind of handle that on your behalf. It is a phase 1 is a quite a large amount of paperwork, but we shoulder that burden for you so you can continue running your manufacturing operation. You simply provide us the documentation and answer any questions that come up as we build out the packet, and we keep you informed on it there. No need for you to spend the dozens of hours that we will spend putting together the application. We will simply take the information you provide us and format it to EDA's liking. That phase is done free of charge. So if a firm is interested, we definitely want them to contact us, and we can definitely look at the feasibility of it. In phase 2, it does have an out-of-pocket expense. It comes in at approximately $1,000. Reason being is at the end of phase 2, you do have a company analysis written out that you will receive a finished product, regardless of if you continue on with the program itself and implement projects. Because in this phase, we're going to be outlaying the financial analysis of the firm, kind of what they'd like to spend the money on, kind of their big SWOT analysis is a good way of looking at it. Firm history, their competitive strengths, and kind of what their plan is for the future. And in here, we also lay out the projects themselves that are being requested. Then beyond that point, once phase 2 is complete, we begin implementing projects. You send us proposals. If it's an eligible project, we will provide a 3-party contract, and we will start paying out consultants. That way, you're able to participate and fully realize the firm's benefits. For a firm to qualify, they do need to meet all 3 guidelines. They do need to meet a 5% decrease in sales, a 5% decrease in employment, and imports in their industry have to have increased, specifically imports of the items that they produce. We have a little bit of latitude in terms of finding the import data, and we handle that on the manufacturer's behalf. All the manufacturer needs to do is simply provide us documentation to justify the first 2 points, as well as answer questions about what they manufacture and kind of their finished product lines, and we'll handle that 3rd point on their behalf. A firm does need to meet all 3 of these. However, we do have a couple tools in our toolbox to get a firm qualified. Seasonality is a good example of that there. If the firm has not lost the employees yet, however, they have a WARN notice out, that's another type of option that we have. So once again, we don't want a firm to self-select themselves out. If a firm is interested and they are a manufacturer, we would like to speak with you, and we'll have my contact information at the end, and hopefully we'll be able to see if it's feasible for your firm. In phase 1, you'll have to provide 2 years of financial documentation, income statements and balance sheets. These are required so that we can kind of justify that the numbers that we are putting on the application are valid. It is required by the EDA Department of Commerce. We do also require 2 years of federal tax returns, as well as quarterly employment reports to justify the decrease in employments. We also have to have customer references from 4 customers that have decreased purchases from your company and increased them with imports. We are required to contact 2 of them. However, that's done with the utmost discretion to ensure that, reputations are upheld, that, no one is contacted that would not be receptive to answering the questions. We work with you very closely on that phase, and we handle that for you. Very basic questions. Have you decreased sales? What have you previously purchased from the firm? Have you increased imports, and why? So we handle that very straightforward with you, and we'll be upfront about who we need to contact. Phase 1 is the big phase. We can handle an application on the SWTAAC side of things. We can put it together very quickly, a couple weeks. However, it does take quite a bit of time for the Department of Commerce to review it. They are checking everything. They're going through every page with a fine-tooth comb just to ensure that the information that I put on the application matches the documentation provided. We eyeball that this phase takes approximately 8 to 12 weeks. Most of that being done with the Department of Commerce actually reviewing it. Like I said, we can put together an application on our side of things very quickly once we have the information that we need from your manufacturing firm. Phase 2 is that diagnostic analysis. We do a brief site visit at your manufacturing facility. We do a brief interview with one of your officers as well to answer a couple questions just to kind of build out the narrative of your firm. And as you can see at the bottom, this phase moves much quicker. It's a 2 to 8 week process as opposed to the 2 to 3 month process before. And in here, we also lay out the projects you're looking at implementing, as well as the dollar amount you'd like to request be made available to you by the Department of Commerce. And then after that phase is approved, we move on to phase 3, where we actually start implementing these projects that you had lined up, that you were discussing implementing. You do have to start your first project within 6 months. So once that phase 2 is complete, clock starts. And if we're getting close to 6 months and we have not signed a contract yet with a manufacturer, excuse me, with a consultant, we'll tell you to go find a $200-300 professional development course, and we'll get that contract signed to stop the clock, something in line with your firm's approved objectives. However, beyond that point, you do have access to the funds for 5 years. You just got to get that first one started, not completed, but started within 6 months. We write up 3-party contracts between the company, SWTAAC, and the consultant you have selected. So basically, you're going to come to us with a proposal. We will tell you if it's an eligible project or not. We'll write up a 3-party contract, and it'll get signed before work begins. So you do have to contact us ahead of time. However, we'll move very quickly on our side of things to get the ball rolling if it is an eligible project. Some programs have very strict contracting guidelines. Trade adjustment assistance does not. You will find that you are in the driver's seat of the consulting projects that you select. Very basic guidelines that the consultant you select cannot be a previous employee within the past 2 years, and it cannot have a personal relation to owner or officer of the firm. However, you do pick your own consultant. You are not required to pick the cheapest one. You're not required to pick the most experienced one or any type of benefits for those sorts of things. You are in the driver's seat. You are going to select your consultant, and we will get that ball rolling for you. And kind of how the payout will work. When the project is complete, you are going to pay your half of the project directly to the firm. Excuse me, directly to the consultant. So a, $20,000 website revamp. Let's say that's what it is. At the end of the project, you will pay $10,000 directly to the website developer. You will sign off that you have paid your split, and then the SWTAAC will pay the remaining 50% of the project. Brings up a couple good points because, one, since this money never enters your bank account, there's no taxable event created. There's no tax implications for participating with this program at this time. Money never goes into your account. It just goes paid directly to the consultant for our half of the program. You do get that project for half off, effectively at the end. There are no clawbacks or benchmarks associated with this program. It's not your $30,000 job, program is approved, but you have to create 2 jobs, or you have to invest that same amount back into your business. There are no clawbacks or benchmarks associated with eligible projects. And then finally, it is not a reimbursement program. It's matching funds. So you don't need to prepay the entire project and wait for us to reimburse you. You just pay your agreed upon split at the beginning, most of the time 50%, and then we will handle the other half. So as you can see, it's very friendly in the manufacturer's favor and very beneficial because it brings these costs of projects that you may not have known, that you know that you will need within the next few years, effectively at a 50% discount. So if you need a certain quality system, if you're going to have to incorporate lean manufacturing going forward, why not get it for half off through your program participation? And with that being said, we do like to end with this point down here at the bottom. You do have to provide information on your firm to include financials and employment data. However, all the information you provide to us is exempt from the Freedom of Information Act. So your competitors, your local community, your suppliers, anyone really, will not be able to submit a FOIA request and obtain your trade secrets, obtain your financials, and obtain your employment data. The only time you will ever show up on a government document is one time in the Federal Register. It'll say Joseph Manufacturing makes shoes, and has applied for the TAF program. That's the only time you're ever going to show up. So you can rest assured that the information you provide to us is kept under lock and key and only viewed by the Department of Commerce reviewers, as well as the SWTAAC employees through the process of actually building out your application. So that being said, I will open it up to questions. So we had a question here, whether the projects must be picked ahead of time for the entire 5-year process, and they do not. What we will do is we will do an interview with you, kind of determine what your firm's objectives and goals are going forward, and we will word the phrasing of the adjustment proposal broadly enough so we can be flexible going forward. So if you need a certain certification, but then that certification changes, 3 years in the future, we will have it worded broadly enough so that way you are able to then shift once that time comes. Had a question about the 24 months of financial data required for the actual certification itself. And we have a couple different options. Most applications that we look at year over year. So right now it is April 2022. Let's say you were applying and you had March data available. In that instance, we would do March 2022 to March 2021 and compare that to March 2021 to March 2020. So we would look at the last 24 months of data, would be required that we have the most current. However, we have a couple different tools in our toolbox, such as seasonality. For example, if your firm has a slow season, we could potentially do the last 6 months compared to those same 6 months 1 calendar year ago. The program gives us a lot of wiggle room that we are very familiar with, and through looking at your pre-qualification numbers, we can tell you if it's feasible. If through our list of tools, we have a tool that potentially might work in your situation, we'd love to chat a bit more. With some firms, we tell them, hey, unfortunately, we can't make the numbers work. Let's talk in 3 months. And we will follow up with you in a few months. We'll see if the numbers make then. So we'll work with you to see what we can do. You'll find that we very much want to spend program dollars. We are not like some programs that may not want to, but we'll make them available. So phase 1 is done free of charge. There's no cost for a firm to get through phase 1, where we submit the application to the Department of Commerce to justify that the firm has been negatively impacted by foreign competition. Kind of starts off with the pre-qualification document. You just outline your monthly sales and your monthly employment headcount for the past 24 months, and we will get back to you whether it is currently feasible or whether we need to wait a few months and see if the situation might have changed in a few months. If the numbers are feasible on that initial form, we'll then ask for the more built-out documentation, where we outline the income statements and balance sheets. But we do want to be respectful of your time. So if the numbers won't make under any of our tools, we're not going to ask you for the financials, the more built-out packet until that time comes. We're going to be respectful of your time and your operations. We do have a pre-qualification form that I will distribute to the TMAC field staff and as well as representatives here. That way they can kind of go over that with you if any questions come up. So we had a question about part manufacturers, whether they're not making the finished product, but they're making kind of a component. So we track import data off of HTS codes, harmonized tariff codes, and we do need to find like or similar products. So for example, let's say that you manufacture basketball hoops, but you make them out of aluminum. We would not be able to qualify you most likely would not be able to qualify you based off of aluminum itself. It would most likely have to be off of the import data for sports equipment. We do have to find like or similar products. So as long as there is an associated HTS code with what you produce, that's what we're looking for. So although there may be other external forces in your supply chain that have a negative impact on that, the Department of Commerce does require that the finished product itself is compared to that. So we have to compare like or similar to. So aluminum to sports equipment type sort of situation.
What's an HTS code?
HTS code, it's a code, harmonized tariff system code, we will handle that on your behalf. But long and short of it is that HTS codes are used by many federal agencies to track imports from other countries. So that way, beef from China has the same HTS code as beef from Germany. It's just beef at the end of the day, that sort of thing. Yeah, so we had a question about if a manufacturer created, let's say, rollers that were used in assembly lines, not the actual finished product, but the actual rollers that the industrial operators purchased. Yes, we would qualify based off of the actual rollers itself, because the participating firm does not make the actual assembly line itself. They only make one component. As long as we can find a tariff code that is similar to the industrial rollers, that's what we would use. We wouldn't qualify them based off of the actual belt itself, since they're not making the finished product. They're making one of the actual supplies itself. So we do associate that with specifically the actual product that they make, their NAICS code, and we kind of line that all up.
Well, we want to thank Joseph for coming today. We will have this recording available. Joseph, how can they get hold of you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Of course, so on the screen right now, we do have an email address, swtaac@utsa.edu, or the phone number 800-344-8872. It's myself. I'm assigned to the North Texas, Houston, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana area. So I'm a bit covering multiple areas. So regardless, if you contact us, we'll speak with the project manager who can walk you through the process going forward. My information is also distributed to most of the UT Arlington TMAC field staff, so they will have my information on file as well. That way they can get you in contact if you're interested.
All right, great. Thank you again, and thank you for all that participated today. Thank you, Jason, for coming in, talking about what's going on at Valcorp Enterprises. So, well, thanks again for attending today. And looking forward to working with Joseph and many customers out there on the Southwest with Southwest Trade Adjustment Assistance Center. All right. Thank you again. Have a great day.
Of course. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.